The gate didn't open. I slowed my car, already knowing what was coming. The guard stepped forward, palm raised, blocking my way like I didn't belong here. "Sir," he said, not looking at my face, "prove you live here." I laughed at first. Not because it was funny, but because it was unreal. Behind me, cars were lining up. In front of me was my own driveway. The place I paid for. The place I slept. The place I called home. A white neighbor pulled up beside me. The guard smiled, waved him through, and the gate opened instantly. Then it closed again. Back on me. I handed over my ID. He looked at it. Looked at the house number. Then into his radio. "We've got a situation." People stared. I felt it, that familiar heat of humiliation crawling up my neck. Not anger yet. Something quieter. Heavier. The kind that tells you this isn't a mistake. "This happens every day?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just said it again. Slower this time. Louder. "Prove you live here." That was the moment I stopped arguing. The moment I stopped explaining. And the moment I made a decision they never saw coming. Because what they didn't know was that every single second of this was being recorded. Before we continue, drop your city or country in the comments. I want to see how far this story reaches. And if you believe in dignity over control, hit like and subscribe. I moved into the neighborhood quietly. No big announcements. No drama. Just a set of keys, a clean driveway, and the feeling that I'd finally earned some peace. The community was gated, polished, and proud of it. Fresh lawns. Identical mailboxes. Rules posted everywhere, not to protect people, but to control them. The HOA ran everything. Who parked where? How long trash cans stayed out? What color your porch light could be? At first, none of that touched me. I worked long hours. Left early. Came home late. Most days, I barely saw my neighbors. When I did, they nodded. Smiled. The kind of smiles that end before they reach the eyes. The guards were new. Private security hired by the HOA. Always standing tall at the gate, radios clipped to their shoulders like badges of authority. I assumed they were there to keep people safe. The first time they stopped me, I told myself it was a misunderstanding. Maybe a new shift. Maybe a new rule. I showed my ID. They waved me through. The second time, I felt it twist in my stomach. Same question. Same pause. Same radio call. By the third time, I noticed something else. They never stopped anyone else. White neighbors rolled in with groceries, kids in the back seat, music playing. No questions. No checks. Just a wave and a smile. Me? I had to prove I belonged. And that's when I realized this wasn't about security. It was about something much older. Much quieter. And far more dangerous. Day after day, the same ritual repeated itself. I'd drive up to my own home, and the gate would close before I even reached it. The guard, the same man every time, would step forward, hand raised. "Prove you live here." At first, I tried staying calm. Showing my ID, explaining, asking politely. Every time, the same delay. Every time, the same look in his eyes, that faint smirk that said I was supposed to feel small. Neighbors came and went effortlessly. White families, kids in tow, groceries piled high. Smiling, waving, free. The gate opened automatically for them. No stops. No inspections. Only me. The HOA's emails were meaningless. I sent polite complaints. Why am I being singled out? The responses were vague. Security protocol. Standard procedure. Standard for whom? Not them. Not the people enjoying their driveways freely every day. Psychological pressure mounted. I noticed subtle things too. Guards would block my path longer when I had friends visiting. Cameras strategically positioned to capture my car. A neighbor's text, "I saw them stop you again. I don't understand why." I started arriving early, waiting in my car, pretending to read emails. I recorded every moment. Dashcam, phone, everything. They didn't know. But I had to document it, each stop, each pause, each humiliation. It wasn't just about the driveway anymore. It was about proving a pattern. One day, I confronted the guard directly. "Why am I the only one?" He shrugged, radio crackling. "Security protocol," he said. His tone had that faint arrogance, that unspoken "you don't belong." I realized then that this was no accident. The HOA had trained these guards, or at least instructed them, to treat me differently. Quietly. Selectively. Each passing day the weight grew. I felt eyes on me from windows, neighbors whispering behind curtains, the tension building like a storm. Every interaction with the gate, every forced pause, was another brick in the wall of control. By the end of the week, I had compiled detailed logs, dates, times, car plates, guard shifts. I reviewed the footage, frame by frame. I wasn't just documenting the driveway stops anymore. I was gathering undeniable proof. And the HOA? They had no idea I was preparing to turn every single moment of their quiet abuse against them. I stopped pretending it didn't bother me. The next time the gate closed, I didn't reach for my ID. I stayed still. Engine running. Camera rolling. I looked straight at the guard and asked calmly, "Why do you stop me every day?" He shifted his weight. Tapped his radio. Didn't answer. "I live here," I said. "You know that." He finally spoke, lowering his voice like he was doing me a favor. "Sir, don't make this difficult." That sentence told me everything. I emailed the HOA again, this time with dates, times, and a clear question: why am I the only homeowner being stopped? The reply came from the HOA president herself. "We have no record of improper conduct," she wrote. "If you continue escalating this, you may be subject to fines." Escalating. That word stuck with me. A few days later, she showed up at the gate. Middle-aged. Confident. Clipboard tucked under her arm. She didn't greet me. She spoke to the guard first, quietly, like I wasn't there. Then she turned to me. "Sir," she said, "security is for everyone's safety." I gestured toward the open gate as two white neighbors drove past us without slowing. "Then why aren't they being stopped?" Her smile froze for half a second. "You're being sensitive," she replied. "No one is targeting you." The lie landed heavier than the gate ever had. That evening, a notice appeared on my door. Violation warning. No reason listed. Just a reminder that access privileges could be reviewed. That's when the conflict stopped being subtle. The next morning, the guard delayed me nearly 10 minutes while neighbors lined up behind me. Someone honked. Someone shouted. I felt every eye on my back. "Why is he holding things up?" someone yelled. The guard glanced at me and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "We're verifying residency." I felt the humiliation hit again, but this time, I didn't lower my eyes. "I live right there," I said, pointing to my house. The HOA president stood a few feet away, arms crossed, watching. She didn't intervene. She didn't correct him. She let it happen. That night, I reviewed the footage again. The pattern was undeniable now. Same guards. Same behavior. Same outcome. Me stopped. Others waved through. I started talking to neighbors quietly. A few admitted they'd noticed it. Most avoided the conversation. Some looked uncomfortable. One said, "I don't want problems with the HOA." That was their power. At the next HOA meeting, I signed up to speak. When my name was called, the mic didn't turn on. The president smiled. We're running short on time. I stood anyway. Why am I being stopped at my own driveway? Murmurs rippled through the room. Someone shifted in their seat. Someone else looked down. She answered smoothly. This meeting isn't the place for personal grievances. But it was. And everyone knew it. After that night, things escalated fast. The guards became colder. Less talk. Longer delays. One morning, they threatened to deny entry altogether until I've verified with the board. That's when I realized this wasn't just harassment. It was coordinated. And they still didn't know what I had. I stopped trying to convince them. That's the thing about people who abuse power quietly, they don't expect proof. They expect exhaustion. They expect you to get tired, angry, loud. They expect mistakes. So I went silent. For 3 weeks, I said nothing. I didn't argue at the gate. Didn't email the HOA. Didn't show frustration. I just recorded. Every entry. Every stop. Every wave through. Same guards. Same hours. Same results. I created a spreadsheet. Dates. Times. Guard names. How long I was delayed. Who entered before me. Who entered after. I matched it with dashcam footage and phone recordings. Side-by-side comparisons. White neighbor, gate opens instantly. Me, stopped. Questioned. Radio call. Delay. Over and over again. Then something happened that changed everything. One night, while reviewing footage, I caught audio I hadn't noticed before. The guard's radio crackled as he stepped away from my car. Yeah, a voice said on the other end, low but clear. That one. Make sure he checks in. That one. The next day, I drove in earlier than usual. Same result. Same stop. But this time, as the guard leaned down, I asked calmly, "Who tells you to stop me?" He froze. Just for a second. Then he straightened up and said, "Sir, I don't answer questions." That was enough. I contacted a civil rights attorney. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't lead with emotion. I sent the footage. The logs. The audio. He called me the next morning. "This isn't an HOA issue," he said. "This is selective enforcement. Potential racial profiling." He asked one question that still echoes in my head. "Do you know how rare it is to have this level of documentation?" We filed a formal complaint. Federal level. That's when the HOA panicked. The guards disappeared for 2 days. Then new ones showed up. The HOA president sent a sudden email, "Security procedures have been updated." Too late. Subpoenas went out. Internal HOA emails were requested. Guard contracts. Training instructions. Incident reports. And buried in those documents was the line that destroyed them. An internal message from the HOA president to the security company. "Please pay extra attention to certain residents. We've had concerns raised." No names. No explanations. But the data filled in the rest. Out of 312 homeowners, only 3 were stopped repeatedly. All black. When the investigator laid it out, the room went quiet. The HOA president tried to explain it away. Coincidence. The guards blamed miscommunication. The board said they were unaware. Then the footage played. Side-by-side screens. Same day. Same time. Same gate. 1 car stopped. 5 waved through. 1 homeowner questioned. Everyone else welcomed. The investigator paused the video and asked one simple question. "Can you explain this pattern?" No one answered. That was the moment power shifted. Not with shouting. Not with anger. With silence. Because silence, when paired with truth, is devastating. The hearing wasn't held in a courtroom. It didn't need to be. A federal investigator sat at the head of a long table inside the HOA's own community center. Same room where they once muted my microphone. Same walls where they told me I was being sensitive. This time, they couldn't shut anything off. The HOA board sat together, stiff and quiet. The president was still confident, at least at first. She adjusted her papers. Smiled politely. Acted like this was a misunderstanding that would disappear if she sounded calm enough. The investigator didn't raise his voice. He pressed play. The screen lit up. Me. My car. The gate closing. Prove you live here. Then another clip. Another day. Same guard. Same delay. Then the split screen appeared. On the left, me, stopped, questioned, radio calls crackling. On the right, white neighbors, driving straight through. Smiling. No pause. The room shifted. One board member leaned back. Another crossed his arms tightly. Someone coughed. The investigator paused the video. Is this resident under investigation for any crime? He asked. The HOA president cleared her throat. No. Any outstanding violations? No. Then why is he being stopped? Silence. The investigator clicked to the next file. A spreadsheet appeared. Dates. Times. Durations. Patterns so clean they looked intentional. This happened 74 times, he said. To this homeowner. He turned the screen. 0 times, he continued, to these homeowners. Names appeared. Faces. Addresses. All white. The guard was called in next. He tried to stay professional. Claimed he was following instructions. Said he didn't remember specifics. The investigator leaned forward. Who gave those instructions? The guard hesitated. Then the audio played. That one. Make sure he checks in. The words echoed through the room like a gunshot. The HOA president's face drained of color. That's not what I meant, she said quickly. That message has no racial meaning. The investigator didn't argue. He simply asked, then why does the data align perfectly with race? No answer. The investigator turned to the board. This is not a policy failure, he said. This is selective enforcement. He paused. With civil rights implications. That's when the room broke. One board member whispered, we didn't know. Another said, this is going too far. The investigator stood. You don't get to not know, he said calmly. You don't get to benefit from power and claim ignorance when it harms someone. He listed the findings slowly. Discriminatory security practices. Failure of oversight. Potential violations of federal housing law. The consequences followed. The HOA security contract was terminated immediately. Fines were issued. The board was placed under review. The president was instructed to step down pending investigation. No shouting. No drama. Just the sound of control evaporating. Outside, neighbors had gathered. Word traveled fast. Phones were out. Faces were stunned. Some avoided my eyes. Some nodded. The gate stood open. No guard raised a hand. No one asked me to prove anything. For the first time in months, I drove straight into my driveway without slowing down. And behind me, the HOA that once controlled everything had nothing left to say. The driveway was empty that morning. No guard. No radio. No clipboard. Just me, my car, and the sound of the gate sliding open without a question. It felt strange at first, almost unreal. Months of humiliation, delays, and silent judgment had vanished with a single investigation. And yet, the memory of every stop, every smirk, every whispered instruction stayed with me. I hadn't just fought for access to a driveway. I had fought for acknowledgement, for the simple, undeniable truth that I belonged. Neighbors approached quietly. Some offered apologies, some awkward smiles. Others didn't say a word, but their eyes reflected understanding. The HOA had lost its power, but the lessons remained. I looked at my home differently that day. It wasn't just bricks and a lawn anymore. It was a symbol, proof that documenting injustice, staying calm, and quietly gathering evidence could topple even the most confident abuser. And in that stillness, I realized something. I never wanted special treatment. I didn't need the applause. I only wanted what was mine. And finally, the gate wasn't just open for my car. It was open for the truth to come through. I never wanted to fight for my own driveway. I only wanted to come home. And now, I can.